Hi there, and welcome to the Lois Strachan YouTube channel. I'm Lois, and today I'm going to be answering another question from a member of my community about living with chronic kidney disease, about being on dialysis, and about my recent kidney transplant. But just two reminders before I get into that question. Firstly, I am not a doctor, so this should not be taken in any way as being medical advice. If you have concerns about your health, please consult a qualified medical practitioner. Secondly, everyone's journey with chronic kidney disease, with dialysis, and with kidney transplants is different. There are some common themes that you'll see, and maybe you've experienced or someone you know has experienced some of the things that I talk about on these videos, but maybe you haven't. Maybe it's been different for you. And that's okay. It is just normal because there are so many different factors that come into play in this whole journey. So let's get on to today's question. Now, there's two related questions that come from Lizl, and I'm going to be answering one of them in this video, and I'll probably answer the other in a separate video. Lizl asks about the dietary restrictions immediately prior to the kidney transplant, and then the dietary restrictions during recovery and long term. So I'm going to talk about the first of those in this one, and that's the dietary restrictions immediately prior to the kidney transplant. I have already done a video talking about the dietary restrictions while I was on dialysis, but this is, I'm going to be talking about immediately prior to the transplant. Well, in fact, the renal diet that was recommended for me, managing my potassium, my phosphate, my sodium levels, that continued right up to the time of the transplant. So my transplant took place on a Tuesday afternoon, and I was in hospital from the Monday, the day before. And my the renal diet that I was on was right the way up until the morning of that surgery. So there was nothing specifically that I needed to do to prepare for the kidney transplant in terms of what I was eating, what I was drinking, any of the liquids and things like that. I had to continue with my usual dialysis liquid limitation of 1 liter of fluid a day, and I needed to keep on the renal diet. One thing that I did find quite funny, and this is just an entirely personal story, I know that my dietary selections are a little bit complicated. Firstly, I'm type 1 diabetic, so I need to watch my carbohydrates and my sugars. I need to manage those with my insulin injections. I need to, as a vegetarian, I don't have meat or fish, so no red meat or no white meat. I do, however, have dairy, so I do have eggs. So those I'm okay with. And also, I have the renal diet recommendations to take into account. Whenever I go into hospital for whatever reason and they ask me to order my meals for the next day, I always have people looking at me in absolute confusion and horror because they find it very hard to accommodate all three of those requirements. And of course, now it's going to be easier. Now that I've had the kidney transplant, I'm no longer on a renal diet. I'll talk about that in a different video. But I'm still diabetic. I'm still vegetarian. But managing the three of them just became harder. So what I decided to do was I said, I can manage the carbohydrates and the sugar levels through my insulin intake. So let's find options that will fit with my renal diet, my kidney diet, and with my vegetarianism. And that's the way we decided to handle it. I do have to say, however, that I sometimes raise my eyebrows in question at some of the things that the hospital kitchens send me as a kidney-friendly diet. But maybe I should keep that story for my blog. Okay, so that's just a question about dietary requirements immediately prior to the transplant. If you've got any questions, would like any clarification, drop them in the comments, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Thanks so much for joining me on this video. See you next time.